Right, welcome back. Now, a quick look at the newspaper. Daily Statesman is starting this morning and says that Bank of Ghana governor blows $504,000 on gold watches. The Daily Graphic says Ghana starts fuel exports to West African countries. It comes with a photograph of the energy minister, petroleum and energy minister. And then calm at Juma Kubesiase after NDC-NPP clash. KMA fails to elect PM at 9th attempt. Those are stories on the Daily Graphic. The Finder says IMF drops bombshell, economy to grow 3.3%, and that is the slowest since 1994. And NDC owns Reagan copyright. That's the nominee of the NPP, Nana-Addo talking on his campaign rounds. The BNFT also talks about some issues with the economy and says tough decisions signal growth. And Danny tells investors, these are some of the papers here with me this morning. Now, to do the talking this morning to my right is the president of the Accra Institute of Technology, Professor Clement Jidon. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I hope you're doing good.
Very well.
And thanks so much for your time this morning. To my right is Ricky. Kasisi. Ricky, good morning. You've been away for some time.
Yeah.
Grateful you're back.
Thank you.
To my left, sorry. Welcome. And then to my extreme left is the Chief Executive of CTFM. Sabens, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Hope you're doing great.
Very well.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Now, let's start with issues with our economy. I'm sure this morning a lot of commentary on that because there are two key things we'll try and look at. The Finder says IMF drops bombshell, economy to grow by 3.3%. According to the story, this is the slowest since 1994. And the story says that in its latest forecast, the IMF has said Ghana's economy will grow 3.3% this year, and that's the slowest. That's the report on the third review under the extended credit facility arrangement posted on the IMF website has revealed. Now, we're told that the projection is far below the 4.1% growth contained in the media budget review, as well as below the 3.9% growth for 2015. We're also told that inflation would rise to 17.5% by the end of the year from 16.9% in August. In the report, a fund revised Ghana budget deficit forecast for 2016 to 5.2% of GDP from 4.8% in May due to oil revenue shortfalls. Now, we're told that implementation of the extended credit facility support program by the Ghanaian authorities continues to be broadly satisfactory, but the economic outlook remains challenging. Now, the Finder tells this story, but the BNFT has another story that comes from Andani, the Chief Executive Officer of Stanbic Bank. Now, he says that the country has taken all the tough decisions, and in 2017 onwards, it will be a fantastic year for us. He said that for those of you looking at investment opportunities, this is probably the best time in Ghana to invest. Now, he goes on to say that Ghana has taken tough decisions that will, from 2017 and beyond, restore the country onto the path of growth. He was speaking to investors here in Accra, and he is not alone in this. The country advisory leader for PricewaterhouseCoopers, Vish Ashagbo, also added his voice to the optimistic outlook, saying, having taken some difficult decisions, we can look forward to a brighter 2017 and beyond. And it goes on and on and on, talking about the tough decisions we have taken. Professor Jidon, let me start with you. Now, from a point where we're told that the economy was on a path of transformation. That's according to the finance minister when he presented the supplementary budget. Now, the IMF is in here and says that, well, we need to revise a few of the figures. And even though the program is doing well, the extended credit facility program is doing well, there are still some challenges. But in here, we have our people who deal with the economy, suggesting that, well, we have taken the decisions, the tough ones. 2017 is likely to be one that will hold prospects. Let's start the conversation from here.
Good. When you look at the first, good morning to your viewers. When you look at the IMF, so-called IMF bombshell, they are saying they revised the growth rate from what? From 4.1
right.
to 3.5.
3.3%.
3.3 by the end of this year, 1916. And then they're also saying that
2016,
2016.
Right.
I'm sorry, but 2016. And they also said that they are also increasing the what?
Inflation.
The inflation will increase from what?
16.9 to 17.5%.
17.5. All about by the end of this year. So the time frame of the IMF statement is different from the time frame of the other Mr.
Adani's statement.
And this.
He talks about
2017, that the bases have been created, the tough decision have been made, but it's not clear which tough decision we are talking about. Okay, and also the audience are different. And Danny is talking to investors, encouraging investors to come to Ghana. He's a banker. You don't expect him to be telling investors, don't come here. Things are so bad. And remember, it's also an investment meeting or conference. Okay? I mean, people coming from West Africa. So the audience is very, very important.
Right.
So they may be saying the same thing, but differently, look at it from different perspectives. But the IMF, I would like to believe the IMF. Because you see, the IMF have no business, have no self-interest to paint a picture otherwise, if that's what the picture is. So the IMF revision of the growth rate to 3.3 for me is a very serious matter. If this growth rate of 3.3 will jump to something much higher in 2017, I doubt that. Things don't move that fast in economies. And another thing too, we should also remember, sometimes the economists don't know how the economy runs. I'm not the one saying that. Some top economic professors made that point. And there are a lot of books written on the issue of forecasting. Now, Ghana is such a small country, I mean, can be subject to external shocks here and there. You must be careful making predictions. Like what Adani said, that he said 2017 will be a great year for us. How did he know that? Because we take a tough decision. We tough decisions. So I will wait to read 2017 to know whether what he's saying is true. But I'm sure I understand what he's talking about. He's talking to investors. He's painting a good picture. If it is true, then it's fantastic. But I wouldn't want to sit down here and think that you believe. But the thing about economists is that when they make a prediction, they'll say it's going to happen tomorrow. But when the tomorrow comes and the prediction don't come true, they don't come back and tell us, they say, well, we say probably it will happen. So I would not want to put too much on that, but I'm quite concerned.
But let me quickly come in. Mr. Adani is talking to a client of his own bank,
yes,
from the continent, and are you in any way suggesting that he could be painting a wrong picture to them?
Well, right. This is some people come to your home. Is that correct?
Right, they are his own clients.
I'm not sure. Are they all his clients?
Yes, for the conference is aimed at the bank's commercial banking clients from across sub-Saharan Africa.
Very good. He's talking to his crowd. He's talking to his crowd.
So perhaps he's painting the exact picture of what he's saying to them.
By the way, these investors also read newspapers. They watch TV. They go on the web. Nobody invests in your country without doing some due diligence. Politicians say all kind of things, investors do their own reading. Bankers say all kind of things, investors do their own reading. A lot of this data we're talking about, the IMF data, is on the IMF website.
Right.
This investor will read it. Conference is conference. So I will not fault Adani for what he's saying. Of course he's talking to his own crowd. Of course he cannot say anything otherwise. But we just hope that what he's saying will come true. But I will not put too much on it until we reach there, because the economy sometimes can be very complicated. They make all kind of forecasts. When you go back, the type of forecast economies make, not only in Ghana, all over the world, that so and so years, so and so will happen. It will not happen. They say, we didn't say it will happen. You say it will probably happen if other conditions hold. Those other conditions did not hold. For example, they will say, we didn't foresee a situation where the oil price will increase. If the oil price had not have increased, let's assume that we're not in 2017, our forecast will have come to that is the way the economy operate.
Okay.
So I personally think that Adani is saying what he's saying to the people, but the IMF one is very short term. I think they are very sure. By the end of this year, our growth rate will reduce to 3.3%, the lowest since 1994. I think we all need to...
From 4.1%.
Very good. So I think we need to sit up and look at this.
All right. Mr. Tamensa, let me quickly come to you. Now, the paper says it's a bombshell. I am assuming that the caption is as a result of the fact that we had projected a 4.9% media and then a 3.9% at the end of 2015. So if the IMF says it's 3.3, perhaps that's why the paper thinks that it's a bombshell.
I'm not sure what the question is, but you know, it's newspaper. And
yes, of course.
They have to sell the paper. So,
okay.
You know, but I think looking at it in general terms, no country will be proud of 3.3% economic growth at the end of any year. So if this, with the effort that we are being told that the government has put in this year alone, if the outcome is something around 3.3%, then we have a bigger challenge. I mean, that's what I can say. And so that if the government itself was looking at mid-year 4.9 and then a certain 3.9, now adjusting it to the realities of drop in oil prices and all these things, and it goes further to 3.3, then I fear that the situation might even worsen as we approach 2017. That's my greatest fear, because it's clear that we are not in charge of the factors or the variables that affect the economic growth. We are not totally in charge. So they keep slipping away from us, and all we do is to keep reporting and not succeed in arresting the slip.
I see. But if you look at the IMF report and the fact that the economists we have in here, Mr. Adani is there, Mr. Ashiagbo is also there, and the fact that they paint a picture of 2017 with prospects that we should all look up to, and the IMF growth at the end of 2016. Perhaps 3.3, we shouldn't be too worried about it, looking at what those within here are painting for us. They
are businessmen. Look, you can...
They'll paint the wrong picture because...
No. They are businessmen. They have their work to do, and I'm not going to argue with them. The IMF is telling us of our situation today.
Right.
Today as we sit. They are projecting into 2017. Last year, the year before, we heard the president say that 2016 will be the year of the turning around, didn't we? That's his hope, expressing hope. But what do we see today? So it's okay for somebody to be hopeful. But if we get into 2017 and the situation is different, we'll discuss this at it. And IMF is telling us of our situation today. Not to say that we don't know. We actually know. But at times, it's even difficult for us to accept our own situations. And so we play the ostrich. We know that the problem is confronting us, but we'll never accept it. And if with all the effort that the government has announced that they are putting in, if the outcome is a certain 3.3, then we have more questions to answer.
I see. I'm grateful. Ricky, so 3.3%, it doesn't sound exciting at all. But based on that, can we say that the prospects that government has been talking about, some economists have been talking about, in fact, the Economic Intelligence Unit also made some commentary about what to expect in 2017. Should that give us hope that 3.3% isn't the end of it after all?
Right. It will surprise you that I'm actually quite perplexed, because what I find particularly noteworthy is that they say it's the slowest since 1994. And politicians and commentators have given us the impression that we have been retrogressing forever. So if since 1994, this projected 3.3 is the slowest, at least I think it should go on record that we've been growing, albeit not to our satisfaction. That's my first comment on this. The second comment is, I'm surprised again that we seem to have this interesting relationship with the IMF. Today, the IMF is speaking the sanctimonious truth, and we are taking them by their word, and Prof is intimating that he would vouch for the accuracy of their predictions and will take the predictions of Mr. Andan and Andani and the rest with a pinch of salt. Of course, he's entitled to his commentary. For me, I see a generally consistent picture. I am not going to go into the veracity of the IMF report, but we all know, we're living it. We live the fact that the economy is not performing terribly well. I take a lot of consolation from the fact that the two gentlemen, Andani and Ashiago, are saying that 2017 is going to be better. Unfortunately, it coincides with a political promise, so it makes it swallowing it a bit difficult. But my elementary economics would tell me that if all the infrastructure that we know have been put in place, the roads and so forth and so on, I do know that they have a direct impact on productivity and, for that matter, the economy as a whole. So I will not exactly, discard their positive outlook. All I just think we should be looking at is when do we take the IMF as a friend? When do we take the IMF as without interest? I think my little understanding of the Bretton Woods institutions is that they have a puppet master somewhere, or at least for those of us who are conspiratorialists. And so, for all you know, this is just something to put the government in a negative light. I am not saying that for sure. All I'm saying is that if we want to do a very forensic critique of our indigenous economies, we should not quickly go and say that the IMF must be right. But I think that my pocket tells me that the IMF is not terribly off, and that my basic economics also tells me that all the basic infrastructure and all the creating of the environment for growth of the economy that has been put into place. I mean, this may be contested by those on the other side of the divide or that side of the divide, but what is essential is that we have seen a major pump. I think some chiefs have been on record as saying that apart from Kwame Nkrumah, the John Mahama administration has done spectacularly well in terms of providing infrastructure. So all of this should be able to translate into better economy next year. But it must be conceded that Mr. Andani did not really have the option of painting another picture other than optimism.
All right. Prof, so let's stay on this a bit longer. Now, let me quickly read this. Now, we're told the fund is saying that the implementation of the ECF support program by the Ghanaian authorities continues to be broadly satisfactory, but the economic outlook remains challenging. Again, it goes on to say that there's been progress in stabilizing the macroeconomic situation and reducing financial imbalances, but fiscal risk remain elevated. That's what the fund is saying. Now, particularly when we are in election year, and we know our history with our fiscal policies in relation to election years. Perhaps, what do you think about the IMF? We should all accept it and take it.
Well, let's put everything within context. The IMF didn't invite themselves to Ghana. We invited the IMF because we have a jam, a problem. Okay, you remember? We invited the IMF. We have a serious problem with our foreign exchange. They came in, the government invited them, and they destabilized things a little bit. I'm not a friend to the IMF. Nobody's a friend to the IMF. But the fact is a fact. They came in and established the currency situation. Some people may disagree with that. Now, we are just close to the end of the year. They took pure statistics and make a projection that by the end of the year will be a growth rate of 3.3. You can't get that so wrong. when they're doing prediction, statistically. Okay? You know we are now in what? October? You can easily predict what will happen by the end of the year. It's so close. So I would take, and that's the first point. They didn't invite themselves in. We invited them because we have a problem. And they said they are assisting us. But of course, IMF don't assist you for nothing. They borrow money, they want their money back. Now coming back, but the good news on their report is that you recall, some couple of weeks ago, when we are due for the second or the third
tranche.
The third one, they refuse to give it to us because they say what? They are not quite happy with, the way we are managing the project. Is that correct? It's good, and they're saying that we are okay. We are doing better on that, despite the fact that the broader economic situation is not good. So there are some good things in the report. I don't know whether they're going to give us that money. Have they?
We're told it's been approved.
They're approved. Very good. So at least they are making some positive points there. But let's get this right. IMF, it's not the IMF for the old days. The IMF is here because we invited them, and they are assisting us to manage our economy. We don't like it that way, but we put ourselves in this situation. So I'm still inclined to say that we are so close to the end of the year. If that 3.3 is correct, then it's very serious. Given that, as my good friend said, we have put a lot of things in place to put it in a better light by the end of this year, but we are still in 3.3. I also agree with my colleague. We tend to pretend that everything is under our control. We will make infrastructure investment, but the infrastructure investment take quite some time to have the compounding effect. Probably the infrastructure investment you make in 1 year may actually start yielding results in 2, 3, 4 years' time. So I don't think that building a road tomorrow, necessarily that will reflect in GDP the following year. What Mahama is doing in terms of investment in infrastructure is a great thing. A country must invest in infrastructure, but it will take some time. Whether 2017 will be the time that things will start to grow, I don't know. I don't need any colleague think that it will happen, but I cannot also take a lot of factors not under control may change, and then these same economists will come and say no, because these things have changed, our prediction will not come true. But for me, at the end of the day, it's not about IMF. It's not about Andandi's prediction. It's about exactly what is on the ground. And I think all ordinary Ghanaians know that things are pretty tough. We're not blaming Mahama for it. It's a journey we are taking, and certainly we must speak the truth that look, there are problems, and the government do everything to face it.
Mr. Mensah, I want us to stay on this election year and issues about spending, because the report talks about the fiscal policy and says that the domestic revenue mobilization is weak. Also the fact that it shows a weak economic activity. Now, in election years, there is always the fear of this monster of spending that gets our pocket totally empty, and so we'll come back from the election and then we'll start the whole journey again. What can be done to stop this? I remember Professor Mills.
I don't have an answer.
But Mr. Mensah, you see, the issue is that we need to get to a point where it can be stopped. But how do we do it?
Yeah, right. I think in that respect, the president, the finance minister have been quite clear on the measures that they are taking. And I think so far, if what I know is right, they have succeeded to a large extent in not going beyond what they budgeted for. I think the scary moment is when you see their own projections for next year, 2017, where you have everything put together, amortization, interest, and all these payments, more than government salaries. And that's scary. So, you know, as Doc said, you know, you can read all these IMF, whoever, whatever, but what is on the ground, we feel it. The other day, it was ISA that gave a very, you know, negative outlook for the economy.
Even when all was hopeful.
Yes.
Right.
That's ISA. They are here in Ghana. They are not in Washington. And they also feel it. And I cannot contest the report that they put out. It's published. The ISA State of the Economy book. Go and get it. You weep. So I'm saying that at the end of the day, politicians can tell us anything, but we know what we feel. You understand? And it's for the good of the citizenry, for things to work well. If you tell me things are working well and I am experiencing something different, I know you are lying. And this is the problem. I'm not saying that even in the United Kingdom, the United States, there are poor people there, there are people whose businesses are collapsing every day. We agree. But when it becomes a national problem, a national challenge, then we have a bigger problem. So we are just saying that, look, if IMF says that it's going to grow by 3.3%, nobody is proud of that kind of growth. Nobody. And again, the equation is how much effort we have put in. And Doc made a point. But where I depart from that is, look, in even economic management, there are short-term efforts and there are long-term efforts. And there are short-term efforts that have been put in place. And even that, relating that to the 3.3, the 3.3 is abysmally low. The government knew about their own efforts. That's why they projected 3.9. And so it's a failure that we have to admit. You see, we can't just repeat another part.
Can we also say that the holding period we're talking about, 3.3 at the end of 2015, is... 2016, sorry, is a foundation on which we would leap into 2016 and record that growth we're looking for?
You can look at it either way. But what I'm saying is that isn't it a fact that the projection was 3.9?
It is.
It's a fact. And so if you fall short by 0.3 percentiles, then it's a problem. And that 0.6, it is huge in economic terms. It's huge. So if we did not meet it, we did not meet it. And that brings another set of problem for the economy. I mean, you can talk about foundation, but everything that the government does today is a foundation for the future. Everything is a foundation for the future.
I see. Look, I asked you from the beginning about this issue of trying to stop this deep eating into our coffers on election year, because already you've seen the signs. Community after community asking for either a road or don't come and campaign. And then perhaps this is where you find government giving in to pressures.
I was hoping that for your years of experience in media, you will not go this way.
but it's been happening.
It's Bright the one who tells politicians to go promising.
I am not.
If you use 4 years in promising and the time to take account of your promise has come, why shouldn't they demand for their own? You go there, and I hear, even today, I hear parliamentarians or parliamentary candidates jumping from one place, telling people they will build harbour for them, they will do this for them. And I'm asking, do you have money to build harbour? They tell them all sorts of things.
Right.
So the people sleep and wake up and they see that what you promised yourself has not been delivered. And you say they shouldn't demand, then stop promising. And that's to the politicians. Stop promising and start educating people. It's a difficult thing to do, but for as long as we keep promising people heaven, if you don't provide heaven, they will attack you with hell.
And then we'll go back to the beginning again.
Well, that's the equation.
I see.
I mean, they are still promising, aren't they?
Okay, all right. So I'm grateful. Ricky, so you see, I wish we could just help our public office holders to deal with this monster of election year spending, because I saw Professor Mills organize a whole conference, the late Professor Mills, a whole conference to deal with it, and yet we came back to square one. Can we ever deal with this? Mr. Atamen is suggesting that from what the president and the finance minister have said so far, it looks good. We can be sure that after December, we will not be told of a deficit that will send us back to where we came from.
I'm going to borrow his disclaimer. I don't have an answer for that. But I'm not going to quickly jump onto the neck of the politicians. They have enough load there already. I think it is a general Ghanaian problem.
It is not the politicians.
You see,
they are not making the promises.
Somebody said people deserve their leaders. And the politicians say, give them what they want. I always create a different scenario. You go promising that you are going to bring New York to your constituency, ridiculous as it may sound. And I go and I say, look, I'm going there, I'm a legislator, I'm not going to be able to bring you anything. Which one of us stands the chance of winning? You.
The one who will bring New York.
New York. Believe me. The other day we left the studio, one of the panelists was saying, Nana, was saying that there was a gentleman who made a ridiculous campaign somewhere in Eastern Africa and said, look, if you vote me as MP, your wife will sleep with you 3 times in a day. And the crowd was, yay. The point is complicated. What operational room do we give to our politicians? What are the real chances of a politician who comes out and says, look, I'm a parliamentary candidate. As a parliamentary candidate, I do not have other than my salary and the common fund allocation for my constituency. That common fund allocation, I'm not going to preside over. It has to be dealt with in consultation with the local government. Assembly, right. Exactly. That does not get votes. So it's an egg and chicken a polemic. However, since the politicians are the ones who have the power to influence, I think we need to get a bit more commitment on their part to stop paying for votes. You see, when we say paying for votes, we are not talking of the collect 20 cedis, 30 cedis. But if you go within the 2 or 3 months previous to an election, you go there and all of a sudden there are electricity poles and there are boreholes, etc. You have given the people the impression that if they vote for you, you'll give them certain things. You may not actually go and say, I'll give you a borehole. But it has become clear to the average Ghanaian.
Now some are distributing electricity meters. 2 months.
That's the reportage. And I don't know when that job became the job of parliamentary candidates. But let me quickly tell you this story of a very good friend who stood on the ticket of the MPP for a by-election. And somehow he went to a village and the village chief made the mistake, quote unquote, of saying that we support you. 3 days to the by-election, that village was completely converted. Electricity was there, boreholes were being drilled, and so forth and so on. So he tells me privately that some of the chiefs have told him, you know what, next time round, come around. We are going to tell you that we support you. And then by the time the election comes, we will get development for our area. The people are getting what they can get out of the whole political arrangement. If you do not go for your cut, quote unquote, then somebody is going to go for it. Because chiefs are taking turns and outdoing each other and saying that, oh, we want this in our place, we want that in our place. And obviously you have restrained the man. There is nobody who's going to come to you and the chief of the area will say, oh, we want a school, and he's going to say, no, I'm not going to give you a school, or I'm going to do feasibility studies. So like many other things, notably like corruption, we can talk till the hens come home to roost. Some part of this system has to take the initiative. And since it is the political class who have both the resources and the clout to deliver on such promises or to make such promises, they should take the initiative, like my big brother said. They should take the initiative and say, look, we are going to change the nature of politics in this country. Parliamentarians are legislators, and political leaders are not just going to come and promise you something and on the basis of which you vote. But there has to be a bold decision by somebody. But the question is, Americans will say, if it ain't broke, why mend? It is work for them. It will work for them. So why should they change their ways?
I'm grateful, Ricky, for that. Then
they stop complaining when people are demanding.
Once you're making the promises, I guess. All right.
An annual song and dance.
Let's look at this story. It broke out yesterday. The police service is suggesting that it is stopping checks that demand that you show your driving license, your roadworthy certificates, but rather the focus will be on these MTTD men checking vehicles for weapons and ammunition. I guess the police has been trying hard to explain exactly what this is. We'll also try and make some sense out of it. Ricky, let me stay with you once more. For what the police is saying, we're in an election year, and that it is one of their routine ways of doing things. They can decide on an operational structure and then help to deal with a challenge. So from now, you drive and the MTTD officer is not asking for your licenses, but is checking your boot under your car, perhaps in the engine itself, to find if you have some weapons there.
My brother, I'm surprised that this is a special initiative and they've actually made such a brouhaha about it. First of all, I hope the lawyers don't take me on or somebody, but isn't this fear and panic? Checking for those things should be an all year round thing. It should not be election year alone. If you specifically come out and say, look, let's not make too much noise about license, etc., let's concentrate for ammunition, what are you creating in the minds of people? You are creating the minds of people that there is credible reason to believe that there is some undercurrent of use, traffic, or possession of ammunition. So that in itself, fine. You realize that there's a very loud absence of it in the newspapers. And I heard a discussion that was the information was heard on the wireless message or wireless communication. That does not.
No. From our checks, we suspect a leaked document.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I do not understand exactly why they should. I think the Ghana police should be able to go about changing the focus or the target of their work, the special focus, without making it such public information. You see, for me, if you stop me in the night, it does not matter what you want. I try to be law-abiding. When you stop me, whatever you ask for, I will provide it. But if you tell me that maybe the gentleman in front of me or behind me may actually have a gun or a round of guns, or it creates unnecessary fear and panic. That for me is what is important. I know that there is an increased likelihood for people to, based upon what we are hearing left, right, and center. But I think most importantly, Ghana, we should be very, very careful with the way we discuss matters. Look, yes, we know that there's a credible potential for there to be the possession of arms, etc. But people are not going to be carrying them in their car boots. People are not going to be carrying them in their under their seats. Commonsensical analysis tells you that in all of these areas, these things are probably, if they are going to come at all, they'll come through the harbors or
the borders.
The borders. And I've said here before, and I'll say it again. My village is a walking distance from the Ghana-Burkina Faso border. There is no sight of an immigration person there, or for that matter, planned quarantine or anything. You can take a stroll over with an Uzi on your shoulder, daytime, nighttime. Why? Yes. Why are we harassing city dwellers, saying that you are going to check for that and check for that?
That's it.
So, well, let me not be misconstrued on this matter. It must be based upon a real reason. That is why the police administration is saying this. I do not agree that they should stop checking for licenses, etc., and car documentation, because common sense tells you that if I am going to smuggle ammunition in a car, it's not going to be my car, or it's probably going to be an unlicensed car, or it's probably going to be fake documentation that covers that car. That it's 1 + 1 in security.
Okay.
So while they are looking for the guns, please make sure that I am actually the person I say that I am when I tell you that this car belongs to me, and it actually belongs to me. But most importantly, they should keep quiet. That's why we pay them, to keep us safe. Don't make us.
It shouldn't have been made public. That's what you're suggesting.
Yeah.
Ricky, I'm grateful. So
yes,
Ricky is saying it causes fear and panic.
No, I think he said everything. I would say.
But some have even suggested that the document itself in the public domain was leaked, and that it's not an official one from the police service. And that itself is risky.
The document, as I have it, is a document that's actually labeled restricted. has restricted circulation within the police service, and it's a wireless message, which found itself on social media. And unless the police comes out to say it's not true, I mean, I will believe them if they say it's not true. So our discussion is based on the content of this document, and it's an internal communication to certain departments and outfits of the police, advising them to now shift their emphasis on the highway patrolling and the urban road patrolling from roadworthiness and driver certification to security issues. I think that's the whole sense in their communication, that look, running up to elections, let's shift our focus from inspecting all these things and move to I think
Ricky said it shouldn't be for elections alone.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not holding brief for that. I'm just saying that if it looks as if that's what they wanted to do, and I agree, it should be a combination of both.
Right.
I mean, why do you even instruct that don't check the person's license if you are on the security mission? The person is holding ammunition. You don't want to know who he is. So I don't know whether maybe the police should come out and explain. And again, it's dangerous for internal memos of our security institutions to find its way to the public in this manner. It's very dangerous. And some of these intelligence operations, at times I always say it, I miss the likes of Totobi Kwachis and the Captain Chikates. Who ever heard them doing press conference? Ever. Press conference. Totobi Kwachi, communication minister, jumping from TV station to radio station. It never happened. But he did his work. So it's not the talk. Because when you do talk, this is what happens. It will leak. That's what we are seeing. So I think that the police will have to revise their notes themselves. They have to revise their notes.
I'm grateful, Samuel. Prof, you share these two views. First of all, I mean the leakage of the document and the fact that perhaps even if we need to do this, we could have found a better way of doing it.
Well, I think these are security matters, and for the security of the state, we need to treat some things with some caution. That was my first view. And this is a leaked document, a scanned copy of a memo, internal memo to police personnel about the way they say they're going to do things. It says suspended. This memo was issued this month, October 2016. Maybe because of the elections. That is why they issued it. They might have issued a lot of other memos, which we are not privy to. That might be police operational things. That's for sure. But let's look at the memo. They say the MTTD will continue to do what? Traffic management. That means the traffic light and those kind of things. Is that correct? The highway patrol will concentrate on what? Checking on arms and those things. Now, that is the memo. Do you really think these police people in the city will not be checking the license and those things? Operationally, they will do.
When they get onto the roads.
They've been instructed not to. I think it's a resource constraint issue too. That let's disengage
the MTTD officers
and then let them come and help with the security checks.
Well, the MTTD, the memo said they will continue with traffic management.
Yes, not the checks.
No, the highway patrol will check, but will check for arms and ammunition. Okay? When they say highway patrols, I presume we are talking about people on a highway, not necessarily the people in the city center. I think that's what I get from this.
Okay.
Now, let's look at the police, the ordinary police. From here, we're all going to drive home or drive to work. The ordinary policeman at the checkpoints who love checking licenses. Do you know why they love checking licenses? Something come out of checking licenses.
What is it, Prof?
Well, we all been in this town for a long time. Okay, something come out. Ordinary policeman who check licenses will not continue to check licenses, roadworthiness, They may pretend they've never heard about this directive.
It's just for 2 months.
Well, it's just for 2 months. So I think the last checking will continue.
We're getting to Christmas.
Yes.
You know the funniest thing with the police? When they say, I greet you. Today is Friday.
Today's Friday.
You know?
So, no, let me learn on this. I think, in spite of the directive, the ordinary policeman who check licenses vigorously, aggressively, productively.
For other reasons.
Well, I'm not saying that. We'll continue to do that. Yeah. But I take Ricky's point that the leaking of this memo is serious because probably the police know something we don't know. Okay? That is why the issue, this memo, we want to concentrate on highways, on check of ammunition. And we just hope that things that we don't know, that they know, they should be able to manage it well enough for us we are safe. But as for the ordinary policeman not checking licenses, you see, when the drivers, the throttle drivers, hear about it, they say, oh, they are going to be holiday doing that. In fact, it's during the Christmas time the police aggressively check for this license. So I think it's going to happen.
All right, okay.
I need to solidarize with my senior brother here when he expressed nostalgia for the days of Toto Bikwati and Captain Chikata. I didn't think I'll ever hear it from him. It's a very private nostalgia I have myself.
Oh, okay.
But generally, I mean, if you look at the way BNI runs and the publicity and bad press that surrounds it, that did not happen under Peter Namfuri. It did not happen on some other, people. When people are, told to handle the security of a country, the confidence we have in them is terribly eroded when they cannot even keep an internal document internal. How can I then have confidence in you that you will actually go ahead and actually check this ammunition that you are looking for? So we need people to be professional and to stop going for press conferences and having press engagements. What we've known in this country, at least those of us who are old enough, is that security couples are a very rare species. You probably would actually live your entire life without actually meeting a security couple. But these days, these are celebrities, and it's not the best. They should concentrate on their job and deliver it. I dare say, how many of us have seen Captain Chikata in our lives? But he handled the security of this country for close to 2 decades. The man is almost an enigma. That is my image of a security couple. Not somebody who goes global.
But guys, let's.
So there was no social media.
No. That's the point I want to make. These days, for example, this memo which got leaked, we said the police must come and explain, probably give it. To explain that, they must hold a press conference. We are in the information age. I think the police is just reacting to the fact that sometimes you must come out, hold press conferences, and explain things. As for the leakage, it may be just some low-level staff who got this and thought that he wanted to make him or herself famous and leaked it. You know about some leakages. These days, they are dangerous times. It's quite difficult for any serious organization, for all good intention, to prevent this for this. I think the police will continue to come into the media sphere because we are. Well, I really think that they will have to be explaining things in social media well. So I don't see them doing other.
All right, now let's move on. Just about some 15 minutes. Let's try and do these two issues: EC boss and then the rebuttals between the Vice President and Nana, the NPP nominee for the presidential elections. Now, he is said to have reacted to a comment by the Vice President in Asawasi over the weekend when he said that the NDC supporters should be alert or should police the elections because some political party is thinking about rigging, and Nana-Addo is said to have reacted to that at the launch of a campaign of the Member of Parliament for the Ablekuma West, when he said that perhaps if it is rigging, then it is the NDC that has a copyright, and that shows that the Vice President and his presidential nominee have already given up in the race if they are talking about rigging. Ricky, let me start with you. Are these normal campaign blows? Is that how we should take them? or they go beyond just campaign blows. And if the vice presidential candidate is talking about rigging, and the opposition leader also talks about the fact that the ruling party has the edge when it comes to rigging, we should take it seriously and not as campaign blows that we see politicians engaging.
Let me state categorically, I'm disappointed in both gentlemen. Very disappointed. I'm shocked that the vice president, if he did say this, said what he said.
Well, he said it.
And
I heard.
Nana was not leaving much opportunity. You see, when somebody jabs you, the natural instinct is to jab back, and whether you want to call that counter-attack or self-defense is a different matter. But the two of them should be roundly condemned. You can tell your quote-unquote full soldiers to be vigilant without necessarily impugning the intentions of another party. Every Ghanaian should be vigilant. Every Ghanaian should take the election process very seriously, because it is our only chance to articulate our interests for the next 4 years. So I expect, and this is the type of leadership that we are talking about, like we're talking about the buying of votes, etc. They will normally call the tune. By their action, people will follow. So now there's a incumbent vice president saying that a certain party wants to rig. Then the flag bearer says that the copyright resides with NDC. Believe me, by the time we leave this studio, the whole country will be agog with comments, insults, and it's going to degenerate. So I must make it very, very clear that this is not what is expected of these two gentlemen. Both of them are distinguished gentlemen, and I'm surprised that they've allowed circumstances. You see, I don't know, some people bring something to a position, and so to some people a position brings something to them. I want to hope that these two gentlemen, who when you take them individually, you can have your misgivings and second thoughts and what have you, but where they have chosen to go in their professional lives, they have reached their peaks. And they are well educated. They should not allow politics to let them drop their guard and listen quickly, I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I may never get into elected party office is because I just don't think that some quote-unquote undeserving joker will sit somewhere and insult me. When if we were to meet in church or even in the trotro station, the person cannot look me in the eye and insult me. So for me, I think that they should avoid such incendiary commentary, because for all you know, the vice president must have a tangible reason. That's what somebody's going to say. He must have a tangible reason. He has got intelligence that these people are going to rig. So the people there are not discerning.
Right.
They are listening to what their leaders are saying. And if the leaders allow themselves lose their guard and say something, it gets a momentum that we may not be able to control.
Ricky, I'm grateful. Professor, you don't know. So it's from what Ricky had just said, it is not just a normal campaign jab. It goes beyond that.
Well, I'm not sure. This is election. They make all kind of
the comments were on campaign platforms.
Yes,
comments.
Politicians, you can never trust them, and you cannot really curtail what they can say or what they cannot say. Of course, what the vice president said it's okay for people to ask him, can you provide credible evidence that somebody is going to rig the election? Remember, you are the one running the country. Okay? The opposition people who have the wherewithal to rig the election, please provide evidence. I think it's right for people to call for that. For Nana-Addo say that these guys also have a copyright. I think it's just a response to what the other guy said. Okay? I don't think Nana-Addo will just sit down, he listen to that, will not say anything, but probably he also will let it be overboard. Copyright is a big thing, Copyright means that you perfected it. You perfected it. You have the tools, the toolbox. You know how to do it, and you'll be doing it, and you are known to have a copyright. Nobody will have the right to copy you. So I think Nana Akufo-Addo also went a little bit overboard. You see, politicians are in the heat of the moment. They are campaigning every day. Sometimes they are tired. They are human beings. They lose their guts sometimes and say some, what I would say, quote unquote, irresponsible statement. So I think Nana-Addo will say that blow to blow. You make a statement that we're going to ring, Okay, that's a serious accusation. Me, I will tell you, you got the copyright. But do the ordinary people understand what is a copyright? It's a damn serious matter. In academia, if you have a copyright to something, even if I copied it, I must acknowledge that I copied it. So Nana-Addo say that we don't want to copy your copyright, but you are the guy who have it. So I think these are serious matters, but I will still want to look at it within the content of political campaigning. After December, after election, these guys will come to what I call normal, same situation, and they will be talking seriously. So I won't take too much for it, although it's serious.
Sarais,
Yeah.
how should we take this?
Well, we should expect more. We should expect more because you see, it's 2 months to elections, and the one who has the last word makes an impression to the electorate, whether we believe it or not. And so he who shouts loudest, who has the last word, if you accuse me of being a thief today, tomorrow I'm going to come back at you. So you better not, if you cannot prove. And so he who alleges should be ready to prove. MPP once upon a time said they disagreed with the election, 2012 election, and that they believed that NDC had rigged, and so they went to court with what they considered their evidence. So if the vice president has any issue, reason why he believes that MPP is going to rig, he should bring it up. I mean, just saying it is heightening tension and anxiety, because now everybody becomes suspicious. The least thing will turn into violence. And so if you do not have material to substantiate what you say, then we will advise that you don't go that way, because we may not be able to handle the outcomes of some of the confusion that will come as a result of these statements. But being in the media, I know that these things are going to continue. Because they think it gives you political advantage, to make your opponent look bad and to weaken the moral strength of your opponent. And that's what they do. I mean, I was hearing Kofi Adams yesterday on radio. They asked him a question about something, and then he said, Nana-Addo is a dangerous man. And Richard Scott was like, I'm asking you a question. He said, yes, he's a dangerous man. What has that got to do? What is dangerous about? He said, no, that's all he wants to say. So I expect this thing to keep going until elections are determined.
I have 3 more minutes, but 1 minute each on this one. The EC boss has been sued, and there are fears it might delay the process. Prof.
Which process?
Now they need to go through the nominations and do the vetting, and then come out with those who qualify to become candidates. Now this case is in court. We're told hearing is for October 14. I heard the EC public affairs officer suggesting that it could delay the process, the electoral process.
I mean, they'll postpone the election?
Well, he didn't say that.
He didn't say that. Yeah. Well, if it delay, I don't know what we are supposed to say. They are the people running the show. I mean, they're suing the EC, is that correct?
Yes.
And
for contempt for accepting the 50,000 CD from PPP.
Well, there's so much to read out of this. Let's see how this flows.
Okay.
And we will still be here, won't we?
Ricky.
Yes. I heard, fleetingly that the EC said that they received the 50,000 check because they thought that the party had
withdrawn its case.
Had no further interest in pursuing the case. I'm inclined to think that that is a good enough reason, because the series of events is interesting. Don't collect 50,000. Here is my 50,000. Whatever the situation is, I think that Ghanaians will not be held to ransom by the chicanery of one political party. We should go to election because that is in our constitution, and our constitution is the supreme law of the land. So we will go on the 7th of December, I hope.
You hope so.
I don't think this is going to delay. I mean, what EC is saying, the processing of this registration is what they refer to as delay. I don't think it's talking about the possibility of shifting from December 7th. No chance. If the Supreme Court will have to meet 3 times a day to deal with such issues, they will do it. I mean, 2008, we were almost at the point of having a court sitting on weekend, you remember? Yeah.
Right.
So if it comes to that point, they will do it. But as for the December 7th, wallahi.
Sawola Tomlinson is the Chief Executive of CDFM. Ricky Pepra is the founder, Youth Enterprise Development Network, and Professor Clement Jidonu is the President of Accra Institute of Technology. I'm grateful for your time this morning. Wish you a great midweek and hope to see you some other time.